This is Del K. Brereton. This is the Shiloh Institute's The Real Spiel. Good morning to Dr. Israel, my Hebrew mentor, to the bishops of FTAIM, Bishop McCullough, Bishop Cross, Bishop Washington, to Pastor Devon Thompson, Emmanuel Church of Jesus Christ Apostolic, and to all the Cyclopses that are in the building, to our leader, Asriel Moore, to our president, Abraham Traore. This is Del K. Brereton, and I'm here to have a conversation, a little different one today. Listen, we have gotten, jingle all day, we've gotten very comfortable with surveillance. We've gotten very comfortable with surveillance. I want to explain something from the top down. Most of us are living in a world where we don't understand the full capacity of everything that is around us. 20 years ago, having a door camera, something that's cost us $30 today, basically can be set up in front of your door, tapes everything that in the area, audio, visual, going back and forth. That used to be very expensive and advanced technology. It's something that for us right now is just cost a few bucks. The question is, why is that type of technology so inexpensive? We used to believe in foreign aid and going to foreign countries, trying to so-called improve and help them develop. Greenpeace, UNICEF, Red Cross, all these so-called NGOs, non-government organizations, NGOs. We used to be fascinated with putting a man on the moon and figuring out all this new technology that makes the world so much smaller. But what we, I believe, fell asleep for in realizing, wow, there's some great technology that I can use to keep me safe and to communicate. The world is just getting so much smarter. We've taken for granted the fact that all these things have been utilized in the Western mind as weapons. They have been utilized as weapons. An NGO is a weapon. A cell phone is a weapon. YouTube is a weapon. They're all weapons. So let me explain something to you. Let's start back at the top. There's an organization that exists in Maryland, United States, called the NSA. Right? The NSA. You were never supposed to actually know about the NSA. It was created in 1952 by a secret presidential order. And the purpose of the NSA initially was to make sure that no one could conspire to destroy America anywhere in the world, and that the agenda was to make sure they tracked foreign intelligence. That was the initial concept that was told to us of the NSA. But very quickly we realized that in order to make sure that you are safe, or America, that the Union of America was safe, we also had to understand who were the spies amongst us, hence the title. Who are the spies that were already in the United States? So not only did we have to figure out foreign intelligence and foreign espionage, we had to understand what was happening domestically. Ah. So we had to know, this is where it comes to, what is in the minds of both our enemies and our allies. What do they know that we don't know? And then the question is, how do we get that information and stay within the guidelines of rules? And the answer is rules. What rules? We need to know. Hear me. Volume. Raise my volume. You can barely hear me. That's terrible. Let me see. Let me make sure all my stuff is on. So hopefully you guys can pick it up a little higher now. Hopefully you can hear me better. You can barely hear me. That's really strange. Let me do this. So I want you to hear this. Hopefully you can hear me better. Allow. So hopefully you can hear me better now. I apologize. The conversation, it's a quick review, is about the NSA. The NSA is national security, or the not said agenda of America. Not said agenda, NSA. The agenda was to make sure that they could acquire foreign intelligence, but realizing very quickly that foreign intelligence is one thing, but domestic intelligence is also essential, because you don't know if you have spies amongst us, hence the title. And so the NSA did what it did up until we get to about 9/11. And 9/11, as well as, and actually I jumped too quickly. When we get to the internet and the digital age, digital data opens up the well of information. And this is how it opens it up. And I'm going to get to 9/11 after. Now, instead of having to figure out what you think by infiltrating your organization and sitting there listening to your lectures, by phone tapping you for the things that you're saying while you're on the telephone, while bugging your house, bugging your hotel rooms, bugging your businesses by sending individuals in there as workmen or otherwise to do that. Now, with technology and social media, you're just going to tell me everything. Stay with me right here. Digital age says, oh, well, they're gonna basically text everything. They're gonna text all their information. They're gonna speak into a digital microphone that allows us to capture all of that information. It's no longer analog. It's no longer going one way. It's going out there, and we can capture it. It's incredible. And I'll get to the NGOs in a minute, but we can get all of their information by simply giving them the capacity to communicate. How do we get more? Why don't we tell them that they can hide information so they can speak even more plainly, and we'll tell them that they can put passwords on their devices. Oh, once they get past that, they say, let's tell them that they have the ability to have secret internet conversations. Let's call it the black web. Let's create it ourselves and give them a platform that we can tap into. Let's create encryption so they think actually that we can actually not see the things that they're hiding, and call it encrypted. But the fact is, there is no secrets that you put on a digital device. Everything that you say, everything that you take a picture of, everything that you record, everything that you video, everywhere that you go, you are carrying with you a personal spy device. They said, listen, let's go further. Let's create algorithms that can listen to you And you will put them in your house, Alexa. You will put them on your devices, Siri. And so these things are listening devices, and they are algorithmic. So therefore, they are gathering information, disseminating what you are saying, prioritizing them, and will make some things for your benefit, but will definitely make things for ours. So when you say dress, all of a sudden, you go on the internet, you press the letter D, and all of these dresses show up. It's listening to you. So we know this part. We already know this part. We have allowed listening devices. We have allowed CCTV because you're safer when we can monitor how fast you're driving, when we can make sure you're not running through a red light. No, we want to make sure we know where you are. We have there are so many terrorists that were operating, so-called terrorists, operating in Europe, operating in Britain. Britain just said, forget about rights, forget about privacy. We're going to make sure that the entire place is under surveillance. And we allowed it because they told us it was for our safety. And then you get 9/11. 9/11 changed everything, as we were just saying. Because 9/11, what we found out through the Snowden leaks, that 9/11, the president of America, Bush just said, hey, now we are going to ensure that the data is fed directly to us. Went to every single mobile provider and said, you will surrender all data. It will stream right to us. We're not going to find a way to go around it. We're getting a judicial order or an order or some kind of bill from Congress. You're going to send us everything. We want everybody's information. We want to be able to sift through all of digital data to make sure if anyone is in here that says anything crazy, we want to make sure that we have the capacity to figure out where they are. And then platforms like this, the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, etc., allowing us to simply tell them what is on our mind. They don't need a device anymore. They just got to sit back and say, yep, oh yeah, we've got a subversive there. His name is Burton. And we're just going to sit there and listen to him. Yeah, he's actually got some pretty good things to say sometimes. Oh, let's see who's listening to him. We're going to listen to him, but let's see who's listening to him. Let's watch his analytics. Oh, he's got a lot of supporters in America. He's got a lot of supporters amongst this, and they'll break down your analytics. Yep, he's got little white girls from Topeka with freckles who love what he's got to say. Oh, those little white girls are dangerous. They have gathered your information to the point that you don't realize that you are not simply just a human being. You are a profile that is a risk profile. I'm sure they've color coded it: green, yellow, orange, red, black, whatever their color scheme is. But you are a profile. Everything that you think, everything that you believe, is a threat level. And I'm sure by 1952 to now, they can figure out how much of a threat you are by people's responses, by the things you're saying. How much do you know? Let's get into the NGO part. Let's take a look at this. Max said everything is fine. Yeah, they don't care. Neither three-letter agencies. Yeah. NGOs. What is an NGO? What did we used to really believe an NGO was, right? Many of us used to carry around little boxes, and we would go begging for these NGOs and say, can you please give some money because there's kids dying in Africa? We're having a penny drive for all these children that are dying in Africa, right? And these non-government organizations were set up as charities, non-profits. They received government funding. They received your particular support, pulling on your heartstrings. And then they went into some of the poorest regions, but minerally rich regions, and began to supposedly help those poor indigenous people. And in doing so, they had to set up infrastructures. Because up until recently, it was a lot harder to figure out what those folks are saying because they don't have networks that are built up. They don't have the infrastructure of communication to be tapped into. It's much harder. We got to figure out their languages. We got to figure out their customs, their cultures. And so this concept of the NGO is a concept that even till today, unbeknownst to everyone, the unwinding of U.S. aid and all of these things were international spy organizations sitting amongst African peoples, sitting amongst individuals like in the Ukraine, sitting in Iran, in Russia, sitting amongst America's enemies, and amongst not just America, Europe too, and the potential individuals that they wanted to control, aligning themselves to individuals who they eventually would prop up as puppet governments. And so when you realize the puppeteering that we have been both victimized by and participant in, if you really thought of it, you would say, my gosh, I'm afraid to even say my mind. You would say, I'm afraid to say my mind. But this is the part, I believe, that they didn't take into consideration. And the part is that every now and then, a truth speaker will rise up that makes so much sense to so many people that person's words can literally topple nations, can literally cause the people to rise up and overthrow their own governments, their own institutions, dismantle their own technological infrastructures that they know are not working for them, and will awaken people to the realization that the control mechanisms, the faculties of terror and violence that have kept certain regions, certain people, certain ideas suppressed, that they will stand up and rip them down. And you've seen it all over the world. We've also now realized that the conceptualization of the world that we have been given is not always accurate. I remember I put something on Facebook, one of my favorite spy platforms. I put a quote from an individual. Listen to this quote. It is up to God to forgive terrorists, but it is up to me to send them to him. It is up to God to forgive a terrorist, but it is up to me to send them to him. Who said that? Vladimir Putin. Wow, what a statement. He says, I'll let God deal with the forgiving. My job is to send all of my enemies straight to him so he can talk to them himself. Vladimir Putin. And some of us would say, maybe 40 years ago, Russia was a terrible thing Russia, communism, it's horrible, it's egregious. Oh, these poor people. Pull down that wall, rip down that wall. And now we sit back and we think, and this is when I put this up, the flooding of people saying, that guy's the best leader in the world. I'm not talking about Russians, I'm talking about people of all different backgrounds, mentalities. Best leader we got right now. One of the best minds in the world. One of the greatest leaders. Because for the most part, whether you believe that or agree with that or not, the programming of the West has blown up. People are like, You're not gonna sell me on this mindset that anything that sits behind the Republican desk or a Democratic desk, any person sitting in the White House, is the representation of goodness, of truth, of dignity. No, no, I'm not buying that anymore. I have eyes to see now. I have ears to hear. I have a mind to think for itself. And so you have new thinkers now. New thinkers. People that can see things that they wouldn't have been able to see before. 50 years ago, Abraham Traore would already be dead. We'd be wearing him on a t-shirt. We'd be singing songs about him. He'd already be dead. He'd already be dead. Many of the things that we stand up for right now, we would never have heard of. Never would we have heard of it. So, the double-edged sword of social media, yeah, it makes the world smaller. But it makes the people more dangerous than the government. It makes the simple sophisticated. And it turns the fools into wise men. Because they're allowed now to see behind the veil that they would not normally see. And we know they're listening. It's one thing to say things when you're not sure if someone's listening. But it's another thing to say it when you know they're listening. We know you're listening. I know you're out there listening. And we're not afraid of you listening. In fact, we know very well the reason you're listening is because you're afraid of us. And that the truth is always the most dangerous thing in the room. Always the most dangerous thing in the room is the sharp knife of the truth. Because if truth is a gun, it has ammunition forever. Those bullets never run out. Never run out. The question now is, what do you do with the truth? How do you build a new world with the truth? And how do you attack a system that is so interwoven into who we are that we literally would not know how to operate without it? How would you operate without a car that had no GPS? Because your car is a listening device. If you can push a button and tell that thing where to go, and it takes you there, it's a listening device. It's a homing pigeon to exactly where you are. You're gonna go back to the 1960s and drive muscle cars? I will. Nothing wrong with a great muscle car. All right, I'm gonna go back to pearly maps. If I got to, I got to. Right? But at the end of the day, do we need to? It depends what you're doing. It really depends what you're doing. And we are almost trapped in the matrix now, where you can't unplug yourself from it and live. So you've got to stay connected to it and defeat it from within it. It's very interesting when you look at biblical scriptures from a technologically modern lens. And we talk about this thing called the mark of the beast. And, before, most of us thought, okay, they were going to get a mark on their hand, whether it's a tattoo, or is it a barcode. It went on to believing it is a chip that is put in our hand and our brain. People are chipping themselves. They got all their information in a chip in their finger, or an ocular scan, right? But what if it's something as simple as your cell phone? What if it's something as simple as a Bluetooth device? Most of us are digital people now when we can use our phone to buy things. Our credit cards are digital. We have digital wallets. We've moved on to the stabilized currencies of blockchain currency, right? We're using blockchain as currency. Don't even know where that thing is. Imagine putting all of your so-called tangible wealth into a cloud, a blockchain, and this became your tangible wealth. And they've gone further with it. They've said, no, it's not just wealth. You can have art here. You can have a virtual house. And you can't live in a doggone virtual house. We have all kind of stuff like that. And we have become incredibly reliant on a world of unrealities, run by people with great power and incredible resources. I've said this before, and I'll say this again, that we, the people, exist on a monetary level only to control us, right? Governments operate on a deficit budget. Imagine if you could operate on a deficit budget. Some of you do. It's called a credit card. It's called a line of credit, right? But even that has limits. A non-monetary existence is where the people who are in control, they operate on a non-monetary level. They don't say how much money is in the presidential account. Can we gas up Air Force One? Is there enough money to put gas in Air Force One? They don't ask those questions. They don't ask those questions. They're not on a monetary level. They can do what they want. They've put us, and the technology is so big that things spill over. As we mentioned, your door camera, but even things like electric cars. Like, come on. We were splitting the atom in the 1930s, right? Atomic fusion was a revolution of the 1930s. And Tesla is only popular now. Electric cars. You think we know the stories of how people who created the non-combustible engine, individuals like that were supposedly killed or silenced or bought out because they didn't want to destabilize the world from being addicted to oil. We cannot think that the people that run the world are on a monetary level. There's no energy crisis for them. They're not those type of things. They're not worried about that. They're worried about what ancient men of power and modern men of power have always been worried about. The capacity to destroy your enemy. That's it. That's what they're worried about. Can he destroy us easier than we can destroy him? We found out something, that weapons of mass destruction, Mr. Bush, we're not sitting around in missile silos. Weapons of mass destruction are both ideas and the capacity to control things bigger than a bomb, weather, markets, public opinion. They can cause your people to rip you out of your palace, Gaddafi. There's other types of weapons of mass destruction, and most of them, ladies and gentlemen, exist in the realm of intelligence, in information. And you should always be curious when you see rich people doing things that seemingly are costing them money, millions and billions of dollars, and you're thinking, oh, he's such an amazing person. He's donating his money back for the benefit of the world. Don't you ever think that. Wealth is a defense to every man who wants power. And when he's spending his money to get something else, you can be rest assured that he's on a power climbing ladder with that agenda. He sees more power, he sees more money. We know why Elon wants a rocket ship. He wants to put satellites up there. He wants to put satellites so we don't need to worry about these wires that are still wiring all these networks, all these hard wiring of the internet. The internet is still a hardwired situation. It is not. There's no so-called wireless. Wireless doesn't really exist. It's not really true. It's everything is wired. It's just signaling. It's wired so that you can use a signal so that you don't have to plug into something. But everything right now is wired. Musk is really trying to give us wireless. He's trying to utilize satellite. This is what a satellite phone is. We've had satellite phones forever. So he's trying to say, well, if the army can have satellite phones, why don't we just give satellite phones to everybody? We don't need to wire anything. We can get rid of Bell. We can get rid of all of these old institutions that hold monopoly on communication. And now, once you're wired in the sky, Skynet, this guy's scary, Skynet. Once we have a real Skynet, once we're truly wireless, we really will get all that information. Digital information will flow to us like never before, and we'll hold it all, because no one will want to go back to a wired network. Everyone will want Skynet. Everyone will want what we're doing in the satellites, and that's why Trump is saying, "Oh, that's a pretty good idea." It fits the agenda of 1952. It fits the agenda of Bush from 9/11. It fits the agenda of America wanting to control information, which is power, which is the true weapon of mass destruction. If I know what you're thinking, if I know what you want to do to me, I can stop you right away. Right away. If I know where you're going, I can send a drone to meet you there. I can plant a bomb 2 weeks in advance because I know what you're thinking. I know what you're doing. There are no more secrets. I hold them all. And that is the God complex of the European and the Western world. I want all the information. I want omniscience. That's what they want. They want to know every doggone thing. You see what you're saying here? Nothing is listening in people. I don't understand that. Everything around you is listening to you. My phone's listening to me. Everything around you. Your GPS is listening to you. Your call devices on your phone is listening to you. Everything is listening to you. Everything around you. Some of you have watches that talk back to you. Your Apple Watch. All of these things are offshoots of technology. The internet was created by the army to communicate, and now we have it. We're using old military. Everything you have, all your technology, is old military technology that they have privatized and sold out for the populace to use for their leisure. But they can still pull all the information back. It's all old military technology. That's all. That's what we're using. Why do you think there's so many weapons in America, so much guns in America? It's all the old weaponry from the military. It's so much. Say, okay, let's create a private sector and let's create an income out of it. Let's create tax dollars out of it. What are we going to do? Destroy it? Don't destroy it. Give it to the people. Let the people figure it out. What happens when the crime breaks out? It's all right. Don't worry about the crime. We'll deal with the crime when the crime comes. Because actually crime makes money. Believe it or not. Crime makes money. You have a crime surplus, what do you got to do? You got to hire more cops. Oh, once you hire more cops, what happens there? You got more tax dollars. Oh, okay. It's fantastic. You tell me there's an economic value to crime? Absolutely. There's an economic value to it. Throw those guns into the community, see what happens. Maybe if you put enough guns in the right people's hands, maybe the crime goes down. So, Everything is working on a spectrum of economics, on a pendulum of power. Everything works like that. And you don't have to take my word for it. You just got to sit down and think about it for yourself. Think about it for yourself. Years ago, one of the greatest inventions was a baby monitor. So you can hear the baby. Oh, the baby's crying. Baby monitor. Fantastic. What is it? What is that? What is it? What is a baby monitor? It's an unsophisticated listening device that allows you to hear things in another room. And so technology that you're using has always come from, first of all, the people who want to utilize it for power, period. And then it trickles down to everybody else. NGOs, NSA. NSA is the most dangerous organization in the world. They're the best hackers in the world. They can hack anything. And like I said, you don't have to hack anything anymore. Everything just streams to them. That's why you don't hear about hackers much anymore. Everything just streams to them. And all they have to do is create more systems that allow you to give them their information. Most people now, you're walking around with tap functions, tap, tap, tap on your card, your phone. It's the most dangerous thing you could possibly ever do. If I wanted to be a very wealthy criminal, I only need to do one thing. I need to not create, because the devices already exist. I walk around with a debit machine that receives tap. I put in an amount, hundreds of dollars, maybe $100. And I walking around, and it's called NFC, near frequency. NFC, near frequency communication. So I basically walk around with that, and I just pockets, purses, walking around. Everybody, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, ran into you. Tap, 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 collecting all your money, because you're all set up to give away your money on a tap. Absolutely crazy. I don't use that at all. I don't use that at all. Got to put a password in for me. I am not tapping anything. That's all you'd have to do. Set it up for $100. Walk through the mall for 2 hours. You'll make thousands of dollars tapping people. Tap, 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 tap. It's crazy. But we are giving it away. We're setting everything up so that effectively we are offering our wealth, our mind, our advice for free. It's all free. It's all free. Here, take it. It's all free. Right? And they realized, they said, okay, how do we keep them talking though? What we tell them is the more they talk and the more people like it, we'll put ads on their channel. Really? Yeah. And they'll make money because we need to keep them talking. Keep them talking. We need those ideas to come out. We need what? Content creators. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. And so you have, and a lot of you are sitting around so-called learning on the internet. You're sitting around saying, oh, do you have this guy? I listen to this guy every morning. He says some really bright things. You should listen to him. I learned a lot, right? And we've now considered these platforms as educational, right? Informational and educational. But I tell you right now, I'm speaking of myself, everything I tell you, double check it, triple check it, quadruple check it. Because information cuts two ways, baby. Lucifer learned that, or taught us that in the garden. A little bit of truth is a dangerous thing. You've heard that before. So my thing to you today is to consider the source, part one. But secondly, reevaluate some of these institutions that you thought were keeping you safe. Because some of them were never created to keep you safe. But you allow them to function and to operate in your culture, in your countries, right? An NGO, if I was running Africa, no foreign NGO would be allowed. I'd kick them all out. I'd kick every one of them out. There would be no foreign NGO allowed to come into that country. just like a media source. Foreign media, allowing foreign media into your country is allowing foreign propaganda to develop a narrative that you cannot control. Right? The freedom of the press has not become freedom at all. It's become dangerous because when a narrative, a propaganda narrative controls the press, it can feed to the people the opposite of what is true, and the people will listen to what they hear first. That is one of the most dangerous things about information. If you have a fight on the street and that person attacked you, beat you down, and then picked up the phone and called the police first and says, hey, I'm here on the corner of Main and Sherbert, and this guy just attacked me. He beat me down with a stick. He looks like this. He's right here right now. I've had to defend myself, but I'm terrified. Please send the police. And if he never calls the police, the cops are showing up looking for him, looking for his description, believing that he is the person that antagonized the circumstance and he is the victim, but it's who sent the communication first. And everybody ever involved in domestic knows this to be true. Who calls the police first wins. So it's a very dangerous thing. I would never let an NGO into a country, a developing nation, especially a developing nation that a foreign power had an interest in. I would never let the nation of France into my country, first of all. Probably the most corrupt European nation in modern time, and overtly corrupt to the point that they're not even hiding it. Corrupt, and I'm not just talking about corrupt in government, corrupt media. They can't even help themselves. Like France is, and it's crazy that France and most of these European French, the Belgians, the French, they were some of the worst colonizers ever, and to the point that they still can't stop. But I would never let France anywhere near my nation. Never. Never. Any African nation that has any relationship with French, you gotta kick France out. You've gotta change your national language too. Because once you have the people speaking in the tongue of a serpent, then the serpent's information, culture, mentality becomes home and becomes true. You need to destabilize that immediately. It's hard. Like I said, it's not easy to do. When you realize that the French have victimized your nation with not simply just French colonization, but French NGOs, with French corporations that are supposedly there to help you, with French technology, with French spies. Wow. And you realize, wow, these people have been here just raping us you're going to keep talking their language? You're going to allow somebody to rape you, raise your child, name the child after you, teach the child his language and culture, and tell the child, I am your loving father, when really he's a rapist that has raped your mother, has held you hostage, and has caused you to believe that he is there for your benefit, when he's actually a plunderer. And you're not going to change the kid's language, change his name? Of course you're going to. You have to. Or else you will perpetuate your own victimization forever. And we won't go all the way. We won't say, well, we need to go completely analog, which is really what we need to do, to be honest with you. We need to go back to analog systems. Good luck with that. Because that's exactly what needs to actually happen if you want to keep information to yourself. Right? So, I'm letting you know Many of you already know this information. People have been running around with tinfoil tinfoil hats, fearful of the basic rudimentary aspect of this, because they're fearful of what's going on up there is reading their mind. They don't need to read your mind. You're telling them what you're doing. Like, no, the government can read your mind. We got to wear a tinfoil hat. Well, I'm telling you the same thing. Get your tinfoil hats out. But your tinfoil hat is not an encryption device. It can't encrypt your phone. I'm letting you know right now. You can encrypt it up to a point where your wife can't see them naked pictures you got of your side piece, maybe. You know, you can put a password on it so your kids can't, play with some of the gambling things that you got going on there. But if the police want your phone, mostly at the police level, they can bust into your phone. At the police level, what do you think the NSA is doing? The police can bust into your phone, right? And we know the cops, the police level, the technology level, the police level is nothing compared to at the federal level. So there's no such thing as encryption. What you have to know is that whatever you say here, you got to say, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and whether you like it or not, it's out there. And you better hope that some people rise up behind you and say, he's not speaking for himself. She's not speaking for herself. We stand with her. And if anything happens to him, if anything happens to her, we will burn this whole sucker down. And that's what they saw with Traore. That's what Ibrahim Traore has taught the world. That if enough people stand with you, that people who want to damage you have to be very careful. Apparently, 2,000 civilians sleep outside of his house. 2,000 people lay down inside of his house saying, we're going to be here. 50,000 young Burkina Faso young men joined the army. 50,000 signed up. So we're joining the army. We're going to protect our nation. And nations all over the world that you were told were your enemies, North Korea, China, Russia, have sent commandos to teach and to help that nation. Ah, ah. You've got to rethink this thing. You've got to rethink it. So, and Traore now needs to build a national mint of Burkina Faso and of Africa. A national mint means, and a gold reserve means, that he, within his own country, and I think he should say that, and not say of Africa, within his own country, he will destabilize foreign currencies, CFA, abandon the CFA, which is the currency that France has imposed upon them, establish his own currency, backed by gold, establish his own credit system, because everything now is digital, backed by gold, establish a welfare state like Saudi Arabia, like Qatar, that says every resident of Burkina Faso is participant in the residual income of the nation. You will establish a national income level. 2 minutes. Everybody in Burkina Faso should now be the equivalent of a middle class American person, financed by the government. People say, "Oh, that sounds extreme." Come on. In Canada right now, every welfare mom in Canada, every welfare mom gets a check every month, and a pretty doggone good check too, based on the amount of children she has. Every mom. Burkina Faso should never have income tax. No income tax. charge tax to foreigners who you allow to come into your country. And that foreign tax is what affects your infrastructure, builds your health systems, all of the residual things that you need. But a resident, a citizen of Burkina Faso should never pay income tax. There's no need. You have more gold than you will be able to spend in 1,000 years. These are the things that they need to hear. And if some African nations want to do that for themselves, good. And when Russia and China, so-called, they want to help, Burkina Faso can figure out what type of relationships they want with those nations. But don't let them mine in your country. Don't let them dig up anything. Don't let them mine. Better off giving it to them than letting them come in there and mine. Because when they come in there with their shovel, their NGO and their spies come in there too. Their destabilizing forces come in there too. Their whisperers come in there too. Hey, I'm going to put you in charge next. Okay? When he dies, you're in charge because you're going to be our guy. No, don't let him come in your country. Give it to them. Just like, who was the nation that just gave Trump? They just gave Trump a jet. They just gave it to him. Here you go. Here's $1 billion jet. Use it as Air Force One. But we've wired it with our own technology to listen to you, dummy. And Trump took that jet. Dummy. Listen, you give him the gold, but you don't let him come into your country. Say, no, you don't have to come and dig. We'll give it to you. We'll give you a certain amount of gold per year. And then what you're going to do is you're going to build our infrastructures. You're going to give us our weapons. You're going to do all that stuff. You're going to give us our intelligence. You're going to train us how to use it. Then you're going to leave. That's how you do that. Because the spies are amongst us. This is Del K. Brereton. This is The Real Spiel. Appreciate you guys listening. Appreciate the conversations. Not the FBI. Huh? It's hilarious. I got a guy here who says not the FBI and everything I'm saying. Saying the opposite sometimes. Now he has the power to rebuild. Okay, I like that. We aren't afraid. Okay, you don't have to be afraid. Nobody's listening, Wendell. Well, you're a spy then. The government isn't dangerous. You're a spy. You're a spy, bro. He wants to cause panic. Yeah, that's right. Not the FBI is telling me I want to cause panic. Yep. They're all running around now. They're terrified of everything that I'm saying, which is true. The truth doesn't cause panic. It causes people to exhale. He's KGB. Who? Putin? So what? What's wrong with KGB? You might be CIA. You're more dangerous than them. And I love it. You think it's crazy? Then I know I'm tapping into the real people. And welcome to all the spies that are here. We'll talk to everybody soon. Listen to this crazy person, because everything I say